Hey, Donna Schwartz here. In this video, I want to give you a free lesson for the piece Honor and Arms from Samson by Handel. The edition that I'm using is arranged and edited by Frank Clark. Now this is the edition that's in the NYSMA manual, that's the New York State School Music Association manual, current as of 2015. I'm not sure if it's going to be in the next edition of the manual that's coming out this summer of 2015, but I felt it was timely to put out this video, and let me tell you why. I've been judging NYSMA for over 15 years, and many students come in performing this solo, Honor and Arms. Now many teachers give their trumpet students this solo if they have issues with range, if it's difficult for them to play over an F in the staff, on the top line of the staff, or if they're having other types of embouchure issues. I will tell you though, this is a level 4 solo as of now. It is a little bit difficult even for those students who have issues with their range. Yes, it doesn't go very high, but the key thing with this piece is the E word, endurance. Here's the thing. A lot of times students will come in and they'll say, okay, I just, prepared the first 2 pages. My teacher said I didn't have to do the DS. Wrong. Here's the thing. It's up to the judge how much you play. So what do I mean by that? Well, you technically have to play the whole first page, the whole second page, and then you have to jump back to pretty much the top again where the sign is, that crazy looking S. You got to play through the whole first page again and then half of the second page. It's a long solo. So this really is about endurance. And after a while, it doesn't matter what kind of range you have, you're going to get a little tired if you don't know how to work up to playing the entire piece. So what do I suggest? Well, first thing I would suggest is that if you're given this piece, the first thing you don't do is put it up to your face and play it. What you do is first time, you look over the piece, analyze it, look for things that repeat. You want to look for things that may give you a little bit of a challenge, maybe in pencil, put a little star next to that. The best thing though, for your first step, is try to find a recording. And that's why I did this video, because it's really difficult to find a recording of this piece. So I created this video. There's going to be a performance at the end for you to listen to and to play along with as well. So your first step would be to listen to a recording and follow along with your piece. Next step, don't stick the thing in your face. Go maybe 4 or 8 measures at a time, and you review your fingerings, review your rhythms. And then the next step, this is the best step, because this is all practicing, by the way. You don't need to be making sound to practice. This next step combines the articulation with the air, right? Air, very important, okay, and the fingerings. You don't want to stick the trumpet in your face until your fingers know where they need to go, okay? So the way I would approach it, let's say I have this first phrase of bum bum ba bum ba ba bum 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 ba ba bum bum bum. I would approach it like this, at a much slower tempo, maybe quarter note equals, I don't know, 72 or something. And here's what I do air sounds and fingerings. I would do that at least 3 times in a row. Now, is 3 a magic number? No, it's not. Really, to be honest with you, you should be doing these air sound fingering exercises as many times as you need until your fingers are practically on automatic pilot. That means that they know where they're going. You don't have to think what your fingers are doing when you're playing. If you're at that point where you're thinking where your fingerings are going when you're playing, you're not thinking about making music. You're just thinking about this. Okay, so again, I would take each phrase, put it at a much slower metronome marking. The piece is at 100. I would start it off at maybe 72. Take each little phrase, whether it's 2, 4, 8 measures, it doesn't matter, and go over your fingerings first. Get your rhythms right, get your notes right. This is in the key of C, so there's no, sharps or flats, really. You don't have to worry about that. Just a few accidentals thrown in. And then do your air sounds. after you've done that enough times so that your fingers know where they're going, then stick the thing up in your face and then play it. And once you feel like it sounds good, you're confident with it, go on to the next phrase. You don't have to tackle the whole piece the first time around, okay? So take it a little bit at a time. But again, I really want to impress upon you, your first step should definitely be to listen to the entire piece. You want to get that piece in your head so well that when you go up to play it, you feel like you played it a million times already. Okay, that's the key. And let me give you an example. Think about your favorite song that you hear on the radio. Boy, that's an old term, the radio, huh? Ugh. Now anyway, think about your favorite song that you hear on the radio, right? Can you hear it in your head right now? I bet you can. Okay, we call that audiating. Audiating means to hear something in your head when you haven't heard it in a while. So it's kind of like stuck in there. Stuck. Anyway, you want to get your Nisma solo in your head, so it's stuck in there, so that when you go to play it, you know exactly what you need to do. Okay? So, you're going to work through this piece nice and slow. I want to go over a couple of more things before we go to the performance part of this. First thing, you should have received when you bought the original copy an errata note. It was a little short piece of paper, and it said there's a mistake in the part. Okay, really important. You're going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 lines. Down 7 lines to the first measure. You have B flat, C, there's a low D there. That's an F. That's a first space F. All right, so make sure you write that in so you don't forget. Again, that should have come in your solo with an extra little sheet in there, so make sure you write that in. Check the piano accompaniment part and write the corrected note in there if it's not in there already. And just put your initials there, or your teacher's initials or whatever. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing, this piece is tricky because many people believe that those long phrase lines, notice I said phrase, they believe those phrase lines are slurs. They're actually not. How do I know this? I actually was lucky enough to be able to find a recording, and I was also able to look at a bunch of piano accompaniment parts too, and also this piece is originally written for like a baritone. Their part does not have those long phrase lines. Okay, their part has little like slur parts to it. So in this trumpet part, those long marks are actually phrase marks. What does that mean? Well, a phrase is like a musical sentence. You wouldn't talk like this all day and expect people to deal with you. Okay, here's the thing. With music, with a phrase mark, you don't want to break up the phrase, with breathing or bad timing or anything like that. So those are phrase marks. So that means all this stuff is articulated. It's tongued. Okay, it's not slurred. So I have a lot of students coming in, and they'll start off like this. And they find it like really hard to get through the piece because it's like a whole big lip slur type of thing going on there. Hey, now that's a great way to practice, but it's articulated. You heard me play it before. You have to articulate all the notes. And for this type of piece, that first phrase is like a fanfare. So you want to make it nice and punchy, nice and marcato, which is, very clear tonguing. Okay? So all those long marks are phrase marks. Just please keep that in mind. Now, what you should do, because most people are really not aware of that, what you should do is write in your part phrase marks, not slur marks. Write it in the piano accompaniment. Phrase marks, not slur marks. All right, you could put an arrow to that first phrase mark and have your teacher initial it. Okay? As a judge, in the past I used to take off points for that because it's the style of the piece, but I don't do that anymore. I just write a comment saying, by the way, this piece should be articulated, not slurred. Okay, so just keep that in mind. That's super duper important. Now, if I were to perform this piece, I would prepare the entire thing, meaning the DS as well, but I would also take advantage of those rests. We need them. It's a long piece, okay? So when you're playing this piece and you got that 4-measure rest in the middle of the first page, you got that, by the way, my music stands over here, that's why I'm pointing over here, just to let you know. When you got that 7-measure rest in the middle of the second page and then the 4-measure rest at the end, listen, take advantage of those rests. Now, as a judge, like I say to the students coming in, you can count the rests if you'd like, or you can just go on. I strongly recommend you take the rests, and what you do, and you're going to see it in my performance, I tend to empty out quite a bit. Empty out during the rest. So just take a second, empty out, clear your head, get it ready for the next section. But you're also needing to count the measures of rest. One of the things I look for, and I'm a pain in the neck, I look for people counting properly in the measures of rest. Why? I want to know that they can count the measures of rest. Now, the recording that I'm going to put at the end of this video, I was lucky enough to find a piano accompaniment. So what I liked to do when I was growing up, I liked to perform along with the accompaniment while I was practicing. But as I was performing at NISMA, I would be hearing that piano part in my head all the time, and especially during the rests. So I knew when to come in, when to put the horn up, when to go. Okay? So count out those measures of rest. Really super important. Get the horn off your face for a second. Let's see, a couple of other things. Dynamics. Make that first statement really broad, fairly loud, and then the second line, you have piano marked down with a crescendo. Really do those crescendos and follow those dynamics as closely as you can. Listen, we've all had people or teachers who we've had to listen to, and they talk like this. Hi class, today we are going to do X, Y, and Z. I want you to take notes, no questions, just notes for 40 minutes straight. Now can you imagine listening to that for 40 minutes? Wouldn't that drive you nuts? It drove me nuts speaking like that, okay? Funny story, growing up in 8th grade, I had an earth science teacher. One of the first things he did, and this is a huge guy, he jumped off the lab table onto the floor. We paid attention from that point on. We did. He was a very interesting guy. He was a great teacher. All right, so here's the thing. When you're speaking, you don't want to speak in a monotone. You want to make it interesting. Well, guess what? When you're playing music, do the same thing, okay? I don't mean to mix up the timing so that your audience is like, what's going on? No, just make your phrases interesting. So, for example, instead of on the second line going like this, go something like this. Put some, I'm going to call it swells. It's not really swells. Put some crescendos, some decrescendos in there. You notice the way I'm talking unevenly, but I'm doing that for a reason. I'm trying to get your attention, but I'm also not talking soft all the time, not talking loud all the time. I'm varying my dynamics. In a musical phrase or statement, we kind of start off either mezzo forte or soft. Towards the middle, it peaks, gets louder, and towards the end, it kind of tails off. Now, that's not true all the time, but most of the time it is. So when you're playing, be musical in that way. Say something, okay? Not the song say something. Say something, okay? All right. Next thing I want to get into, when you hear this performance, the piano accompaniment that I found, and believe me, it was difficult to find, but I found it, has a little bit different piano version. Okay, the trumpet notes are the same, but the introduction is actually 12 measures long, not 2, all right? You don't need to know that when you're performing this for NISMA or any other thing, unless you're using that other version that I used for the piano accompaniment. But just to let you know, you're going to see me standing there, you're going to be like, why isn't she playing? Doesn't she know how to count? Yeah, I do. It's just that the piano accompaniment in the beginning is 12 measures long. Okay, and that is it for now. So let me have you listen to the recording, okay? Finger along, all right? see what I'm doing with the articulation, and excuse a couple of the clams. Hey, it happens. All right. But actually, you know what? It's good that you see that, because I didn't stop and go, oh my gosh, I clammed, I made a mistake. No, I kept going. Okay. So it's good actually for you to see that, you know, people are human. We all make mistakes. Okay. So listen to the recording, and then I'm going to come back and talk a little bit more. Hi. Okay, couple of more points that I wanted to get into. Hearing the recording, right, the very end of the second page, that minor section, it slowed down a lot. Now, I personally would not recommend that you slow down that much. Okay, if you're performing this for NISMA or any other thing, I felt that that piano accompaniment was actually too slow. So here's how I would do it. Let me just get a tempo on the metronome. Quarter note equals 100. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to start off at that tempo, but I am going to slow it down a little bit. Not as much as a piano accompaniment. I'm going to start the line before on the E to the A, the E8 note. So first thing, I'm going to hold out that low C for 4 beats because there's a fermata there. So you always want to double the note value. But the second thing, I did slow it down a little bit. So here's my suggestion to you. Take out a pencil and write down on that very last line, R-I-T dot, make the dots go all the way to the last note that you play, that E. So R-I-T dot, 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 okay? Do that on the trumpet part and especially on the piano accompaniment part. And make sure you initial it or have your teacher initial it. So the judge knows what you're doing, all right? I think it's musical. The piano accompaniment that I played with earlier, that's musical in a different way. I just think it was a little too slow. My own personal opinion, okay? All right, so that's the first thing. The second thing I wanted to get into that I've noticed from a number of people auditioning on this piece, the counting of the quarter rests or quarter rests and eighth rests and all that kind of stuff. Here's a couple of the spots where it gets messy. The 1, 2, the third line on the first page, third line from the top, where you have boom, 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 rest, rest, do, 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 rest, 3, 4, 1, do, 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 3, do, do. At that point, a lot of people get messed up with those quarter note rests. Okay, so let me just isolate that as an example. I'll go right from where I sang it, from the third line up from the top, the second measure from the end. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3. Without the clam, but you get the idea. Okay, so that's the first spot where I see mistakes. Here's another spot, the very end of the first page. Yes, my music stands over here. I'm just looking and talking. Okay, the very end of the first page, where we're kind of in F for a little bit. You got a couple of B flats there. Remember, B flat, always first valve. Okay, the very last line. Everybody mixes up those rests, and they also take that dotted eighth followed by the 16th note rhythm. They play that like triplets. Let me get into that in a second. Let me first deal with the counting. I'm going to go from the second to the last line from the bottom, from the low A, marcato, and I'm going to play through, up and through that bottom line to the first note of the next page. You know what? Let me put the metronome on for this. I'll put it on low. Okay, so I'm going to go from the low A. Okay, so again, excuse the clam, sorry about that. The counting, so you're going 1, 2, 4, 1. Okay, so it's holding out those dotted quarter notes for the full 1.5 beats. You got to feel that. You got to feel those eighth notes, those small beats. Now I'm going to get into the dotted eighth followed by the 16th. Listen, the second rhythm in the entire tune is a dotted eighth followed by a 16th. All right, that's a really important rhythm in this whole piece. So you really want to nail that. How do you do that? Really simple. In your head, you want to subdivide or hear the really small beats. There's many ways to count. Most of you are familiar with number of beat counting. So in your head, you're thinking 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a... Well, that dotted eighth is going to equal 1E end. Number E end. Number E end. There we go. All right. So 1, a 3, sorry, 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 1, a 2, a 3, 4. You should be hearing 1E end for that note value. But you know what a good tip is? Hear a snare drummer going with a heavy accent on the downbeat. So you could nail that 16th note after the dotted eighth. Okay, so really work on subdividing that, nailing that rhythm. Very important. A lot of times kids will play it like a triplet. You know, bum ba bum, ba bum ba bum. No, that's wrong. That's really wrong. Okay, so that's a different feel. That's a triple feel. We're dealing with a duple meter feel. So you really want to work on that rhythm as well. Another spot where the counting can be a problem for people. It's on the second page. Let's see, 1, 2, the third line from the top, where you have the low C. So it's bum, 2, 3, 4, bum, 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 3, 4, bum, 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 3, 4. Do you hear a pattern there? Listen again. Tell me what the pattern is. I'll be listening for your answer. Bum, 2, 3, bum, 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 3, 4, bum, bum. Bum, 3, 4, bum, bum. Okay, let me do it again. Let me count it a little better this time. Starting from low C. Bum, 2, 3, 4, bum, 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 3, 4, bum, 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 3, 4, bum, bum. What are the numbers that you hear frequently? Did you say 3, 4? You're right. Okay, here's the thing. When you're playing that, in your head you are screaming 3, 4. Then you come in on the eighth notes after that. All right, so here's what I mean. That was fun. Okay, I'll go from the bum, 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 the G dotted quarter five with the eighth note, the line above. 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4. Okay, so that should help you through that section as well. Okay, now. The other spot, and I kind of went over it before when I talked about the ending of the minor section, but thinking about the counting right now, let me just quickly review this. 2 lines from the bottom of the second page. You have a bunch of rests there as well. You really want to count those out. And again, I'm just going to impress upon you, listen to the piano accompaniment for this part, think what's going on with the piano part so that you'll nail the entrance for this. Let me go from, I'm going to go from 3 lines from the bottom. The bum, 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 ba-da-dum, bum, 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 that spot. And then listen to the counting. In fact, I'll put the metronome on and I'll go from there. Four, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, etc. Okay. So really, if counting rhythms are difficult for you, in pencil, write out the counting. Whether you use numbers, whether you use doot day, those syllables, or doot-a-day, or whatever it may be, write it out. Whatever's going to help you to play this piece as best as you can, as expressively as you can. That's the key word. Do it. Okay? Hey, look, you bought the copy. You could write all over it. Okay? You can. It's yours. You paid for it. Okay? All right. So this has been a very long video, and thanks for sticking with me. I hope you got a lot out of this. I really hope that this video helps you to perform honor and arms to the best of your abilities. Again, you know, as a judge for NISMA, I see a lot of kids coming in and, you know, making mistakes with the counting, or, you know, making mistakes with those phrase marks and stuff like that. It bothered me. So I wanted to create something that will help you when you're performing this. And now listen, if this is your first time going to NISMA, or, you know, you've only gone like once or twice before, and you get nervous, or you're not exactly sure what you're supposed to be doing or supposed to be preparing, or you want to know what's inside the mind of a judge. Do you really? I don't know. That could be kind of dicey. I don't know. Well, anyway, if you do want to get inside the mind of a judge and know what they're thinking, what they're looking for, check out my product. I created a product. It's called, you ready? Drum roll. NISMA Demystified. Everything you need to know to nail that audition. Okay? What's it about? Well, I don't play through solos in there. I talk about all that stuff that most people don't talk about. Now, yes, we talk about like the requirements and that kind of thing, you know, requirements for regular NISMA, for jazz NISMA, you know, all state, all that fun stuff, all that cool stuff. But I also talk to you about, as a judge, what am I looking for? You know, am I looking for absolute perfection? Probably not. All right, I had a few clams myself, okay? But what are judges really looking for? What are the key elements that you should be thinking about when you're playing? I also am very anal retentive, and I have a whole little section on how to practice, how to plan your practice, and how to get ready for NISMA. And I don't mean like the day before, okay? I told you I'm anal retentive. I'm thinking months before. That's how anal retentive I am. Little story for you. When I was growing up, once I was done with NISMA, our NISMA was later, it was like in May, I'd know my next year's solo. That's nerdy. I am a nerd. I admit it, and I'm proud of it. But here's the thing, though. I knew what my next year's solo was. I had a great role model that was a year older than me, so I kind of did the same stuff that he did because I liked his solos. But it got me in the mindset. And I'd be listening to that solo and just absorbing it and getting in my head from the recordings that I found. So I'm using the experiences that I've had getting into all state, all county, jazz, all that kind of stuff, and trying to help you. This product has over 60 minutes of videos, and it's not just me babbling, okay? I have videos of students that have been very successful at NISMA, getting into all state, all county, all state jazz, all that kind of stuff. And they're giving you their insights as well. We're also talking about how to prepare mentally. Now, when I was younger, a lot of stage fright, a lot of performance anxiety. I did great anyway, but it wasn't pretty. So I'm going to be imparting that knowledge onto you as well, because a lot of times people don't talk about that. They're embarrassed about it. And you know, honestly, there's nothing to be embarrassed about. Here's my little other tip. If you're not nervous before a performance or whatever, then you get nervous. Wow, that was weird. That was deep. Let me say it again. If you're not nervous before a performance, then you should be nervous. Then you should worry. Okay? You want that adrenaline dump. All right? So you want to be a little bit nervous. It's going to get you going and get you excited to play. We just have to learn how to take that energy, that excitement, and make it work to our advantage. So I give you a bunch of tips on how to do that, some advice, and some advice from the students also through those videos. So if you want to check out that product again, it's called NISMA Demystified, everything you need to know to nail that audition. It's on my website at www.donnaschwartzmusic.com. Click on the store tab and you'll see it listed there. Okay? If you like this video, hey, like it. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Sign up for my website. I send out weekly newsletters with lots of tips and all other types of things. I talk about my performances on saxophones and trumpet too, as well. So on that note, again, subscribe to my YouTube channel, subscribe to my website, check out the NISMA product. It's there to help you. I really want you to nail your auditions. I want you to make my job harder as a judge. I really do. Well, actually, no, I don't want you to make it hard. It's going to make it easier because I'm just going to be sitting back and like, when I hear you perform. So NISMA Demystified, everything you need to know to nail that audition at donnaschwartzmusic.com. On that note, take care. Have a great audition. Have a great day.